Hey, what's up, gang? I'm just doing some research about the generations. It's an interesting topic when you talk about like the different generations. Because of course, they call the generation that we live in right now. They call it the millennials. But before that, just start from the beginning. Okay, according to this list, I'm just looking at this chart right here. Okay, he got the greatest generation, which was like the World War I generation, during the Great Depression. Then he got the Silent Generation, Great Depression, from the 1925 to 1945. Then he had the Baby Boomers. The Baby Boomers, they're pretty much the generation who dropped the ball. A lot of people say, which is true in a lot of cases because they're like very materialistic, influenced by the media, television back in those days, from 1946, 1964. I would say they're probably like the, post World War II generation. They had it easy. I think that's like, I heard a lot of authors, a lot of lecturers say that was like the first generation that were influenced by commercialism, movies, TV. So it's like after World War II, society pretty much changed. Everybody moved out to the suburbs. America was prosperous, which was all great. But the downside of it is like the generation, they're very selfish. Very materialistic. That's a downside to the baby boomers. You know what I'm saying? So, during the baby boomer generation, they had the civil rights movement, Vietnam War, the hippies, sexual revolution, and stuff like that. And then right under them you have Gen X, Generation X, which is like the MTV generation, born from 1965 to 1981. The MTV generation, grew up on video games, Atari, Nintendo, stuff like that. And then down here you got the millennials who were born from 82 to year 2000. That's pretty much a generation where you start having the school shootings and stuff like that. Then the social media sprang up, and and now we have like the younger generation, which is Gen Z, or the I generation, which is the first generation to grow up totally into internet culture. Because when I was young, when I was a little kid in the 80s and 90s, we didn't have internet. And my first experience with the internet is probably like late 90s, I think. Uh, you know, and and the internet was a new thing. And but I remember like before internet, it was like a totally different world. But the Gen X, I mean the Gen Zs who are growing up now, I mean, they're just totally immersed in this whole iPhone culture, Android phone culture, Facebook culture, Twitter culture, whatever you want to call it. You know, and I mean, there's some hope because there's like a lot of people were saying that Gen Z, even though they're immersed in the internet culture, they're gonna be more, you could say probably like more rebellious, but rebellious in the sense that they're gonna be more conservative. They're not gonna be so caught up in PC culture, which is politically correct. What I'm saying? Because millennials are fucked up. I can't stand millennials, man. But most millennials, man, they just, I don't know what happens. I don't know, something they put in the water. I don't know. But but anyway though. But it's just I just want to give like a little short education. Like, I know there's still people out there who are not familiar with this whole information, dealing with this information. So I just want to give you guys like some groundwork to work on. And when you get a chance, go on YouTube. There's like some videos that talk about the doomer, the zoomer, the boomer. They're kind of like memes, like cartoon characters. They kind of look like the NPC meme, but it pretty much it's like cartoons that illustrate how each generation acts and behaves. Because the baby boomers, they're very materialistic, and a lot of times they're upbeat, but they're kind of like naive to the world. You know what I'm saying? Then they have like the Gen X, so they're more nihilistic. You know what I'm saying? They're more conscious and woke to a certain extent, but this, they can suffer from depression and stuff like that. And then you got the millennials, you know what I'm saying, who are worse. And then you got Gen Z who's gonna rebel against that, and they're pretty much gonna say fuck it. You know what I'm saying? But what I do is I finna show you guys this other article of something recent that's been on the news lately, and let me show you guys real quick. No, I don't get it, cause I remember like back in the day, I'll say like back in the '90s, back when I was in junior high, maybe I would say maybe like early '90s. Back in that era, you had like the golden age of hip hop. You had the rise of alternative rock. You know, you had like a cultural uprising in that era in the '90s. A lot of people were like going against the Christian right. There was like a big issue about rap lyrics. Everybody was in the uproar about Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre, Ice Cube. And also he had like a lot of the underground music becoming mainstream, like alternative rock, had grunge rock, techno, you know, dance music becoming mainstream. I mean, a whole bunch of stuff was going on back in the '90s, culturally, artistic wise. A lot of good abstract music that was very innovative. Like trip hop, a lot of ambient music. I mean, shoot, he had Nine Inch Nails. I mean, he had Depeche Mode. I mean, it's like all the stuff that was like underground back in the '80s became mainstream in the '90s. Both in hip hop, R&B, rock, even in the movies. A lot of groundbreaking movies in the '90s that came out. You know, and I thought that was mainly what the left, the liberals, and the left were all about when I was young. They're about being cutting edge, against censorship and stuff like that. But for some reason, in the last couple of years, I would say maybe starting in 2016, it's like things kind of like flipped. I call it Mandela effect almost. I mean, that's not necessarily the Mandela effect, but something happened where like things flipped in which like the left, the liberals, they're like the Puritans. They like the thought police, and the right, they're more of the ones who are cutting edge. They're the ones to make the best memes and stuff like that. And it kind of proves it with this article. I never heard of this YouTuber named Soft. I'm kind of like behind. I don't know why I never heard of her before, but she's this 14-year-old YouTuber who makes like content on YouTube. And I never heard of her until this morning when Mark Dice made a video about her. And I looked on her YouTube channel, and I was like, dang, this little girl, she's brave. And she put out this video about Islam that it took down. I guess it was like too controversial. What I'm saying, so they took the video down. That's why you see her in this hijab, and they blurred out her face. She was making this commentary about Islam. I guess YouTube was like, oh, that's too controversial. We can't offend the Muslims, so they took it down and whatever. So, but it goes to show you that how they say like Generation Z, they're more Generation Z. They're gonna be more conservative compared to like the last generation. They're gonna be more cutting edge. They're gonna be against PC culture, and I guess that's true. And with this Soph character, this little girl named Soph, I guess she's like validation that you're gonna have like an uprising of young people coming up. who are going against the millennials. And in my personal opinion, the millennials, my generation, I'm kind of like in between. I'm more like in between like Gen X and millennial. But I would say Gen X too. I think Gen X and millennials they're gonna be hated more than the baby boomers. Cause I don't know what's the fuck wrong with millennials. You know, so I can't. I'm part of that generation. I can't relate to them. But hopefully that with this situation with this YouTuber, I mean that's a pretty good sign that you got some young people who don't give a fuck basically. So in a way, but when you guys get a chance, just go on YouTube and type in Soph SOPH. That's her name. I guess it's like short for Sophia. And in this article right here, there's a BuzzFeed put out a hit piece on her. They'll talk about she's far right, she's foul mouthed and blah blah blah. You know how it is. And what's so interesting is that when this BuzzFeed article came out, a lot of people who never heard of Soph went to subscribe to her channel. So it kind of like backfired. And it goes to show that I'm thinking about making a video about this, that the more that the left attacks the right, it makes the right stronger. I don't know if they constantly know that. I don't know if the left are deliberately doing that or what, but they don't realize that the more that they censor right wingers or moderates or anybody who doesn't conform to the politically correct culture, it makes the centrist and the right even stronger, and they're gonna adapt to it. You know what I'm saying? So also they don't really know what they're doing with all the censoring and banning. It's gonna backfire on them. Yeah, but anyway, though, I just wanted to like share this little information. But we get a chance, go on this Soft channel, check it out, and see you guys in a bit.